So hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing extremely well, and this is your very own mass coder this side. So we are going to solve the problem maximum product subset of an array today in this video, and the problem is actually very simple and very interesting. So the problem says that you have been given an array. Suppose the array given to you is -1, 0, -2, 3, 4. Now you have to choose some elements, like you have to choose greater than equals to one element from the array and such that the product of those elements is maximized, right? Product of those elements is maximized. Now you have to choose at least one element. So if I try to choose something like this, -1, -2, 3, 4, the product of these four elements is gonna be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, -1 into -2 into 3 into 4, which is equals to, if I see that there are two minuses, so it will become plus, so it will be equals to 2 into 3, that is 6, into 4, 24, right? This is the maximum sum of this subarray. Now this subset, sorry, this is the maximum sum of this array, and this is my answer. Now how to reach this answer in every case? Like there can be multiple cases of types of array in this question, and you have to discuss all the possibilities. There are multiple possibilities, so you have to think about those possibilities. There is no other way to solve this question. You have to think about the possibilities. How can you do that? So you have to apply your mathematics mind here. So first point is that positive number always increase the product. That is, a number greater than 0 will always increase the product. We are all very well known to it. That is, multiplying any element with 3 or 4 or 2 or 1 or 5 will never decrease the product. It will always increase the product, right? Second point is 0 should be 0 should be avoided unless necessary. 0 should be avoided unless necessary. Why 0 should be avoided unless necessary? Because 0 actually decreases the whole product to be 0, and it cannot be initialized back to any other value. It will remain 0 only, right? It will remain 0 only. But that, why did I mention unless necessary? What is the need to mention unless necessary? So there are few points when 0 will come in handy. Suppose this array given to you is -1, 0, -1, 0. Now, as I said, you have to choose at least one element. Now, if you choose both -1, 0, the product will be 0. If you choose only -1, the product will be -1. If you choose only 0, the product will be 0. Among these three values, 0, that is both of these values, are the greatest, right? Among these three values, 0, these two values, the 0 is the greatest in magnitude. So my answer of the problem should be 0. So you can see that 0 is actually coming in handy when is 0 coming in handy? When there is only one negative element, one negative element and no positive element. No positive element. Or I can say, instead of this, I can say, and all other elements are 0. This is the first point. When there is only one negative element and all other elements are 0. This is the first point. And the second point is that there is also negative element is also not present here. Something like this is present, 0, 0, 0, 0. In this case, the only option is to choose any amount of 0 and the product will be 0. So when all elements are 0, you will say the answer is 0, right? These are the two conditions when 0 is actually necessary for the answer calculation, right? Third point is when to choose negative. Decision to choose negative. How should I choose it? Should I choose this negative or not? Because the example we saw, we were choosing -1 and -2. Why? Because they were cancelling each other out, because minus minus becomes positive, right? So when to choose negative? There can be two cases of negative. Negatives can be equal to 0. It is about negative count, the count of negative elements. It can be equal to 0. It can be even. Negative is even. Negative is odd. Negative is odd. What do we have to do in all these cases? If negative equals to 0, there is no negative element. There is no negative element. Then what do we have to do? We have to give the product. Give the product, right? Because the case of 0, all elements are 0 are already handled. So I will say give the product without multiplying with any 0. Without multiplying with any 0, right? Second case is negative is even. Negative is even, as in this case. -1 and -2. All the negatives will cancel out each other. So same, give the product of all the elements without multiplying 0. This is also the same. If negative is even, do the same thing. But if negative is odd, what if negative is odd? Something like this is happening. -1, -2, -3. Let's say 0 is also a part of the problem, right? Now the cases I can do for this is I can choose all the elements, that is -1, -2, -3, and I can multiply them. Answer will be 0. I can choose some of these, such as I can something like you can do is -1, -2, -3, and skip 0. The answer for this will be 1 into 2 into 3, that is -6, right? Why minus? Because there are odd number of negatives, right? Odd number of negatives, so there will be a negative sign. But what if I choose -2 and -3? The answer will be 6. And you can try out all the subset of the problem. The maximum answer is gonna be 6. Maximum answer is gonna be 6. Now my approach is that how can I reach my 6 with minimum number of operations? With minimum number of operations, I cannot use the recursion to calculate all the subsets and calculate the maximum sum, right? Maximum product. That will be a like time complexity more than it asked, right? So what should I do? Problem is that. So can you see that 6 is actually the negative of -6? 6 is actually the negative of -6. Can I say that 6 is equals to -6 by -1? I'm trying to relate this -1 with this -1. I'm trying to relate this -1 with this -1. What I'm trying to say is, suppose the array given to you is -2, -3, -4. Let's say 0 is also there. So you can try it out. The maximum product is gonna be -3 into -4, which is equals to 12, right? And the product of all negatives is gonna be -2 into -3 into -4, which is gonna be -24. So -24 is actually equals to 12 equals to -24 by -2. The smallest negative element in terms of magnitude, but -2 is also the maximum negative element. -2 is the maximum negative element. Negative element. So my answer is kind of forming up. My answer is kind of forming up. First decision is positive number always increase the product. So whenever you encounter a positive number, make sure to get it into the product, right? Make sure to get it into the product. Second case is 0 should be avoided unless necessary. So when you are looping through the array and you are calculating the product, don't calculate 0. Do not calculate 0. Like do not product the 0. Do not multiply the 0. At last, when the iteration is done, just check if there is only one negative element and no positive element and all other elements are 0, right? When there is only one negative element and all other elements are 0, then please return 0. Then please return 0. Otherwise, when all elements are 0, please return 0. That is simplified and sorted, right? Second thing is, if the negative is equals to 0, if the negative is equals to 0, give the product without multiplying the 0. We are actually not multiplying. What I am trying to say is, for this array, suppose the array given to me is -1, 0, -2, 3, 4. We already discussed the answer to this problem is gonna be, let us take one more negative. Let us say the array is something like -5. Yeah, it will cover all the cases. Now what can I do? I can do something like this. I will say my product is initially 1, right? My negatives is initially 0. This is for the count of negative numbers. And similarly, my zeros are equals to 0. Now what will I do? I will say, let's say this is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will move a loop. So for I going from 0 up till 5 or n minus 1, you can say, what will I do? First case is if array of I equals to 0, don't do anything, just increase the count for 0 and move on and move on. Do not multiply 0. Please mentioning it again and again. Do not multiply 0. Second thing is else if ARRI, that is the array element, is less than 0. That means it is a negative. Please multiply it. That is product, or it is product star equals to ARRI and negative plus plus. That is the count for the negative number is increased. I have encountered a negative number, so I have increased the number of any negative element in the array. Else, if the number is not 0, if the number is not negative, the number is absolutely positive. So I don't have to do anything, I just have to multiply. So product star equals to ARRI, right? So what is actually happening is, what is my product containing? So product is containing the all the product, like all the elements product except 0. So it is a product is currently containing -1 into -2 into 3 into 4 into -5 into -5. Now what is happening? Now my cases will arise. First case is if 0 equals to n, that is all the elements in the array are equal to 0. In that case, simply return 0. Simply return 0. That is sorted, right? If all the elements are 0, I cannot do anything. Second case we saw is if negative equals to 1, that is only there is only one negative element, and 0 equals to n minus 1. All the elements are 0 other than negative. In that case also return 0. We already discussed that, right? We already discussed that negative is obviously less than 0. Now the third case arises. Now the case for zeros are finished. Case for zeros are finished. 0 will not interfere in my answer now. Third case is if negative percentile 2 equal to 0. If there are even number of negatives, I can simply run the product. Why? Because if there are even number of negatives, then the minus minus have been cancelled out and my product is actually maximized. But what if in the else if negative percentile 2 equals to 1? What if this case arises? What do I have to do in that case? So we actually saw that among the product of -1, -2, -5, -1, -2, -5, these are the three elements, negative elements, right? I have to discard one of them. In order to achieve the positive sum, in order to achieve the positive product, right? Which should I discard? Should I discard -2? Should I discard -5? Or should I discard -1? So you are able to see that whichever I discard, I just have to remove the minus sign. My main aim is to remove minus, right? Minus sign. I have to remove this minus sign. I can choose any one of them. Which one should I choose? If I choose -1, my product is gonna be 10. If I choose -2, my product is gonna be 5. If I choose -5, my product is gonna be 2. So it is definitely true that I should choose 10. But like what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to divide the product of -1, -2, -5 by the maximum element. You can see that -1 is actually the maximum element among these three elements, right? In magnitude it is smallest, but in whole value with the negative sign it is the maximum element. It is the maximum negative, right? So that is the case I want to tell you, that if negative percentile 2 equal to 1, you just say product equals to product by, let's say maximum negative element is stored in some negative, like this is a variable I will say. So I just have to compute the negative also. So what will I do? I will say my negative is equals to -189. Now because I want the maximum, that is why I'm choosing the smallest number. And whenever I encounter a negative number, I will just say negative equals to max of negative comma current element, that is ARRI, right? So that I don't have to iterate again. So to calculate the maximum negative number, so I will just return it from here and I will say return product. That's all. You can see first case we handled is all are 0, we have to return 0. If only one is negative and all are 0, I have to return 0. if negative percentile 2 equal to 0, you can see that in this case also, in this case, if negative percentile 2 equal to 0, that is negative equals to 0 is also lying in this case, if there are no negative elements. So I'm not trying to divide by this element. I'm not trying to divide by this element. I'm simply returning the product. But in the case of even, I have to divide it by the maximum negative element present here, so that I can increase the magnitude of my product, and you can see I have been returning the product. Now, what is the time complexity to solve this problem? So you can see we are actually moving only a one loop, so it is O of n time complexity, and we are not storing anything in a data structure. We are just using variables to keep a counter. O of 1 is my space complexity, and that is the most optimized approach, I guess. And I would please love if someone can give me a more optimized approach than this, right? Now it is time for us to see the code. I hope that you all are excited to do that. Okay, so let us move to the coding section. So there is a coding section here, but before starting with the code, I would like to request you to please subscribe to my channel because it really motivates me and motivates me to make some more such amazing content for you guys. Okay, so what I will do is I will say int 10 equals to array.size to keep the size handy. Now what will I do? I will say int neg is equals to 0, that is the count of negative element is currently 0. 0 is equals to 0, count of 0 elements is also 0, and negative is equals to minus 1e9, minus 1e9, right? Moving on, my current product is equals to 1, right? My current product is equals to 1. Now what will I do? I will just say for int I equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. My first case is if the array element is equal to 0, just increment the 0 counter and do nothing. Else if my array element is less than 0, that is, it is a negative, so increase the negative counter and just update your negative also. So negative equals to max of current negative and the array element, arri. These are the two things you have to do. Also, you have to multiply. So product star equals to arri, and it has been mentioned here that we have to return in modulo 10 to the power 9 plus 7. So the product is one a bit difficult to handle. So long int here it is, and I will say int mod equals to 1a9 plus 7, and after this multiplication, I can say at last also. In the else case, when the number is positive, product star equals to arri, and you can just say here that product modulo equals to x to avoid the overflow, right? After this loop finishes, what will I do? I will just check for some conditions. First condition is all the elements are 0. If 0 equals to n, return 0. Second condition was if my negative is equals to 1, and my 0 is equals to n minus 1, in that case also return 0. The third case is if my negative percentile 2 equal to 0, that is even number are present. 0 case is already been handled, so return the product simply. You don't have to do anything else. Otherwise, else you just do something like this, or you can say if negative percentile 2 equals to 1, that is for the odd cases. What you have to do, you have to say product equals to product by negative, product equal to product by negative, right? And just return the return product. Let us try to compile and run it. I hope it will run fine and should not give any error. Okay, there has been some error. Negative was not declared. I guess the spelling. Oh, spelling is mistake. Let us try to compile and run it again. Again a problem. X was not declared. Oh, it is not X, it is mod. Let us try it again. Sorry for my typing mistakes. I hope you understand. And okay, it is running fine for the sample test case, and let us try it for the give hidden test cases as well. Okay, it is running fine, and you can see a 219 day streak. Hope you liked the video. Make sure to like and subscribe and keep coding. Thank you. Have a nice day.